things are multiplying.
I think I said these F8X cars just keep multiplying in the shop. And these F8X cars just multiplying. We got another one here, this time not a white one. Got a secure orange F80 in the shop that is here for a little bit of suspension work, getting a GTMore rear bar, reconfiguring some things on the springs for his MCS two-way non-remote setup, and then gonna do a dyno tune with Motiv on this thing and get it dialed in for the track. Looking forward to digging in on this one. Also want to make sure we get these TA8S 18 by 10.5 squeezed on there with some 295 size tires. This thing is looking good. Installing a rear sway bar on one of these is a fun little project where you got to lower down the rear subframe a little bit in order to snake the sway bar around through some stuff. Good thing Austin over here is a pro, and he's going to get this subframe lowered down somewhat. Not drop the subframe entirely, but just lower it and then snake it around. Looks like they've got the front springs already swapped out. We went from a 7-inch front spring to a 5-inch. Needed to do that 5-inch because we're going to do 295 size tires on the front of this thing, and that 5-inch spring gets the perch above the tire, so we have enough clearance to get that tire sucked in. Not much space to work with to get a 295 in here with the standard configuration MCS, but we can make it work. Guys are getting on it. Time to keep cracking. These boys are making some moves. They got that subframe already lowered and back up before I could even get back out here. Sway bar is snaked in place. Austin is trying to put stuff back together, but he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm just kidding, he does. Sway bar in place. Michael over there torquing the subframe back down, I think, getting that back up in place. Austin getting brakes back up in here. Almost time to go through checking the clearance of the sway bar against the boot and whatnot while we go through a range of motion of suspension travel, because that is a very important piece of the puzzle. Oh, one little note. If anyone is installing one of these things, this bracket is slotted, and during the installation process, have this moved all the way towards the front of the car to give the maximum amount of clearance for the sway bar around the spring and all of those things in the back. Working on getting the sway bar clearance all set up here. We got this bad boy set. We look at where the ride height was going to be. And as you can see, where is it? What we're trying to make sure of is the clearance between the sway bar and this axle boot remains open, because what happens is if you don't set the height of the sway bar correctly, or the position of the sway bar correctly, under full compression, you will hit that sway bar into the axle boot and end up rubbing the axle boot. The boots aren't replaceable. Got to buy a new axle. Gonna have a bad time. All right, go ahead and jack this thing up. So that's about where it is clearance-wise for the ride height we're gonna set it at, but then it's gonna continue to get closer as we go through the range of motion. Sorry, so go ahead and jam it up. We still have a little bit of gap there. Pretty uncommon to actually be all the way this compressed anyways. So we know we have the clearance and are good to run with this in this configuration. All right, you boys are good.
Thank you, sir.
This car is running a divorce spring package, which makes it a little bit easier to configure the sway bar clearance, because if you're running a true coilover package, the sway bar has to come around the spring as well, which all the space in there is pretty preoccupied between the axle and the spring, but that GTMore bar still does give you the ability to get it around both the spring and the axle. But do be aware of this relationship between the two, because it is important to get it set so that you're not just jamming into the spring or jamming into the axle, so that everything moves freely as it should in the rear end. Austin down here working on setting up this F80. Got it looking pretty good, getting her dialed in. Got these TA8S 10.5-inch wheels with some 295s all around, getting that camber, toe, ride height, all the things dialed in to make this thing feel magical on track with those MCS 289 remotes on the car as well. I think we're getting close to moving this thing to the dyno. Are you almost done?
No.
Oh, fuel starvation kit. You gotta do the fuel starvation kit in it, and then we're heading to dyno. Setup complete on this F80. We had to add a little tow arm, an adjustable SPL tow arm in the rear to get the correct alignment. The stock arms are a little bit limiting once you lower the thing, want to get some camber in it, all the things. So had to add that SPL tow arm to get it back to where we wanted it. Now I think we're about to move to fuel starve and then to the dyno. Dave has been working on knocking out the fuel starve in this thing. I think he's got this thing almost back together, getting close. I'll tell you, we've actually received a lot of good feedback on the fuel starvation kit so far. Been out there for, I don't know, 6 or 9 months now, and a lot of people are reporting that it is resolving their issue, which of course we knew it would, but always great to get that feedback and know that this thing is working as it should and allowing people to get much further down in their fuel usage to be able to run longer on track. Wrapping up with this project on the dyno, just got some tuning work done with our friends at Motiv. You can see we've got the baseline in the blue, the tune version in red. The baseline was an MHD Stage 2 Plus tune, and I was actually wondering if you would lose a little bit of power over that, just because that tune is really made for power, not consistency over longer runs, whereas this Motiv tune is made and dialed in for reducing the amount of corrections that are needed, making sure that it's consistent across a broader range for track use, as these things are not just going to see a highway pull. This thing is going to see consistent abuse on track. And well, we made more power, more torque, in the middle range, up around here, we've made 15 plus wheel torque, 15 plus wheel horsepower, where it's really going to matter in the meat of it. And it's going to be more consistent and safer for track use. So looking forward to seeing this thing get on track. We're wrapping up with this one, going to get it off the dyno, get it back in the customer hands. And well, if you want to see more of this stuff, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, leave us a comment, let us know what you think.
Ready to go?
Should be an awesome race weekend.
We are ready to kill it this year.
It's good.
It's going to be a wild ride.